So today we're going back to basic macro photography with a completely new setup that I've never used before. I have in my hand the Sony A1 with a 90mm macro lens on here. So we're going to be going back to basics in this video. I haven't set this up at all for macro. We're going to do it on video for you. So if you do have a full frame setup and you want to give macro a go, then you can follow along in this video. So this is a 50 megapixel camera. So we've got some cropping room there to get a little bit closer, because unlike my Olympus system, we're not getting that 2x magnification that we get from the crop factor of the sensor. But again, we can crop in to get a little bit closer. So the lens of choice is my Sony 90mm macro lens. This is the same lens I use for doing the macro videography. When you first start or you first put a macro lens on your system, you've never done macro before, I'm going to give you some magic numbers that can work in your favor. So the first thing we want to do is the aperture. So for full frame, I'm going to start at f10. Again, it's a 50 megapixel image sensor, which means diffraction will kick in a lot earlier on this camera than it would do on my EOS R. I'm then going to put the shutter speed up to get a correct exposure. 90mm, I'm going to go for at least 1/400th of a second. And then for the ISO, I'm going to put it into auto ISO. So I'm going to allow the camera to choose what ISO setting it needs to get the correct exposure. I'm not bothered about high ISO and noise and grain, because with modern technology and modern software, we can remove that noise if necessary. And we're doing natural light to begin with. So I'm going to go on a high speed sequential on the camera. So I'm going to be taking a lot of images in succession. Hopefully one of them will be in focus. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to switch my clutch, the focus clutch, to manual, and then set the lens to 1:1. And what we'll do is we'll adjust those settings as and when we need to get the shot we want. We have lots of damsel flies flying around today, as well as dragonflies. We're not photographing dragonflies today. We're going to do that in the next video. But our next very difficult thing that we need to do next is to find a willing subject. So let's go and find some subjects. So I've just found what appears to be, I think it's a leaf hopper. Let me know in the comments below what it is, because I'm not familiar with this species. It looks like it's just molted or emerged from an older skin. I'm kind of spoiled by my micro four thirds system, because I get that 2x extra reach. I'm going to take off the lens hood and I'm going to put on a clip-on lens. This particular one is the Nuia clip-on lens. That should give me around 1.5x magnification now on this setup. And again, I can crop in a little bit with it being a 50 megapixel camera. Get another shot of this. There's a blade of grass in front of me. I'm just going to snap it off. And I'm going to do it with a smug face. Probably just killed something taking that blade of grass off. Let's see if we can get close enough to him without spooking him. He's gone behind a blade of grass. And they often do this. I wonder if it's the camera spooking him. So as I'm going in and he's moving, I'm going to try just putting the camera in if I can. Oh, he's gone. That's a shame. Yeah, he got too spooked. Unfortunately, that's one of the things that can happen when you put a Raynox on. You get in too close, because obviously you want to get more magnification. And in this case, I got too close and spooked him. So he's gone. But we do have the previous images that we could probably crop in on and get a decent shot of him. What's essential is I started further back, so I was able to get a keeper before trying to get the higher magnification shot. So if you are finding that your insects are getting spooked and running away quite often, back off a little bit, get a wide angle version of the shot, and then move in closer until they run away. So we have a lot of damselflies all around this pool. So I'm going to take some damselfly shots, and I'm just going to go for standard shots of damselflies. So you won't see no focus stacking or anything like that. I'll leave that for the nighttime shots, because in the day like this, they're very active. So you're not going to get very close. So again, I'm going to do the same as I did with the leaf hopper. I'm going to take wider shots and then moving closer until they fly off. And once they fly off, that's it for that damselfly. We're on the same settings again. It's f10. 1 400th of a second and auto ISO. But what I'm going to do is just half press my shutter to see what my ISO is going at, and it's at 2000, which is perfectly okay for this camera. The hardest thing now is getting a nice shot with a clean background and to get as close as possible. And I'm not after a headshot, I'm after a complete body shot, so I don't have to get that close. So I'm going to go half life size to begin with, and then we'll creep forward and see if we can get some shots. So what I'm going to do here, because we're doing a wider shot, I want to frame the subject. And if you look at the blades of grass, you can see how they're intersecting each other. And if we maneuver our camera into a certain position, we can photograph through the blades of grass and to get our subject. And what happens there is the out of focus blades of grass will frame our subject quite nicely. I did exactly the same thing with this shot of a tiny owl. Frames up quite nicely, so when you are out and about, keep an eye out for the composition and any type of framing you can do. And if you can shoot through a bush or grass, give it a go and see what kind of results you get. So sometimes when you're trying to get close to a subject, you yourself might actually scare it. So here's a tip for you to have a go at. Use the screen on the back of your camera, the live view, and just point the camera in at the subject to see if that spooks the subject. Sometimes you can get the shot that you want. Currently I'm not going to, because my Damsel fly has turned around, so I need to find another willing subject. Oh, there we go. So what I can do now is just move in using the back of the screen, and again be mindful of the background. So simply by tilting the camera slightly, I'm able to get a different type of background. Okay, so we've gone round Romeo Pools now doing natural light macro with the Sony A1. It's actually pretty good, and for the price, it better be. But there are some things I like about this lens. I like the clutch for autofocus, manual focus. You do get that on the Olympus 90mm macro, which I'm yet to get in my hands to test. If you want me to review the 90mm macro lens, you're going to have to irritate OM Systems to send me one. What I want to do now is obviously natural light macro. It's something I want to give it a go next year, but that's more of early morning macro. That's not what we're doing today. So I'm going to go back and start doing some of the macro that you know me for, which is high magnification macro with a flash. So what I'm going to do is put on my Godox flash. Now this, for the keen viewers at home, will know this flash is for my Olympus setup. Every flash, no matter what make it is, will work with every camera because the flash is triggered by the central pin on your hot shoe. All the other pins are there so that the camera can communicate with the flash to use things like TTL. So by using my Godox flash that's for my Olympus, all I'm doing is eliminating my use of TTL. So all we got to do is just set everything up manually. And to be honest with you, there's a lot of macro photographers out there that already do this, so it ain't going to make no difference. On the flash, I also have attached the Cygnus Tech diffuser. Now, it doesn't fit perfectly, but it looks like a pretty decent botch job. And again, this video is just for fun. It's just for fun, okay? I need to adjust my settings from natural light macro to flash. I'm going to make sure I'm in manual. I'm going to put my Nuia clip-on lens on there. Anyone who's interested in the Nuia, it is very, very similar to the Raynox DCR 250. Very same quality. So for that, we are going to go off auto ISO and I'm going to put it on. I don't know the native ISO for this camera, so I'm going to start at 100. We're keeping the same f10, but we will lower the shutter speed to 1/200th a second. So I've turned off the flash and I am going to take a picture with those settings, and with any luck that will be black. Yeah, completely black. So that's eliminating all ambient light. Next I'm going to turn on my flash. I'm at 1/16th power. Again, I can't alter the power on this flash because my button is broken. Take a picture, let's take a look, and we are very dark. In this instance, if you're doing this, you turn up the power on your flash. I can't do that. So I'm going to turn my ISO up. Let's go to 1600. So at 1600 ISO, I'm getting a correct exposure. Again, You can do the ISO if you want to, don't let anyone else say you can't. But I would personally put the flash power up, but I can't do that because mine is broken. That is essentially what TTL does. TTL registers through the lens. It's a through the lens metering method. It looks at the scene and it determines how much flash power is required to light it by doing a pre-flash. So if you was to film your TTL flash going off on slow motion, you'll see two flashes. First flash is for the camera to analyse the scene and see how much power it needs, and the second flash is the one for the exposure. By using a non-compatible flash, we're just eliminating TTL and we have to set up ourselves. So this is why I'm an advocate for TTL. A lot of mag photographers don't like TTL, but because of my flash power being locked and it's also not compatible, I'm taking test shots of this grasshopper right here, and some are overexposed, some are underexposed. Unfortunately, I'm not going to know until I get home. That is one bane of macro photography. A lot of the times you're not going to know if you got a shot until you get home. Flash has gone to sleep, so the camera, again, with not being a compatible flash, it keeps going to sleep, so I have to keep turning it back on again. So that is some basic natural light macro and some flash macro photography on the Sony A1 with the Sony 90mm macro. Very, very good camera. I still prefer my Olympus system though, because it is heavy, and yeah, I prefer my Olympus. So for anyone who's interested, this Sony A1 is for sale, and if you want to get your hands on it as well as some lenses for it, then DM me on Instagram and I'll put you in contact with the seller. For the next video though, I'm going to be taking out this bad boy. This is the Sony 200 to 600mm lens. I'm going to pair it with the Sony A1 and I'm going to be photographing some dragonflies with it. But that's where I'm going to leave this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I want to thank you for getting to the end of the video, and I'll see you on the next one. So today we're going back to basic macro photography, and we're going to be having some fun with a new setup. I have in my hand the Sony A1. This is a full frame camera and I have no idea how many pixels it is. So I'm going to take off the, what are these called? But it looks like it's literally just emerged from a fuck. But I can't get close enough with this setup because I'm spoiled. Right. Honestly, wildlife photographers are the worst. They're just ignorant. You know what I mean? So we're going to take off the lens. Basic stuff eludes me. I'm going to take off the lens. That's it for that damn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on my Olympus flash. It's not an Olympus flash, it's Godox. And for the one guys bitching in the comments, this is why I ain't done a Nissi versus Raynox, because I got this one as well, so it's going to be all three of them. I want to eliminate all natural light. Oh, fucking hell, Stu, come on, get on with it. Thank you for sticking to the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, then please subscribe and click the like button. It really does help out the channel. I want to thank my Patreon supporters for their continued support in supporting me and this channel. If you're interested in joining Patreon, then check in the description below this video for a link to Patreon. If you want to continue watching my macro journey, then click one of the videos in front of you now.